everybody doing today? Guys, how are you today? Guys, how are you?
Great.
See, there we go. All right, it's funny, ever since my 9 a.m. Class of The Walking Dead with my freshmen today, I've kind of decided to check in with everybody because here we are. It's the last week before midterms. I know everybody's running pretty low on fuel. Everybody's got a lot on their plates right now. That being the case, we're going to do our best to try to pace the class well for you today. Keep you in, but not overwhelm you. Guys, by show of hands, how many of you have a major exam this week? All right. Guys, what do you have? What is your exam? Oh, man, that is big. What hands back here? With Dr. Eckman? It's a big one, isn't it? Yeah, good luck. Who else is in there? Who else? What do you have? With Mr. Paddling? Yeah, as long as you listen to him in class, you'll do fairly well on the exam. He's pretty easy to listen to. So that's really good. Guys, here's the good news. In this class, you don't have any exam this week. You have no assignment this week. All we have is time. Yeah, how about that? Isn't that worth something, right? Yeah, even a little silent, like royal applause. That's wonderful. But we are going to be continuing Chapter 4. Now, I know a number of you also are helping me out with our U-Work project, and tomorrow we're going to be rolling out. Guys, for anybody who's involved, and folks I have on the list for that are Lily, Kaylee, Corey, Joel, Christian, and Avery. You're all helping me in some way, shape, or form. So we're going to meet about 5 minutes after class here today just to make sure everything's good to go. You guys all good for that? And we'll try to make that meeting also very, very brief as well. So, guys, we're going to be continuing Chapter 4 today. I do want to give you a reminder, however, that after we get back from break, you are going to have another assignment due. This one, I believe I had the due date on this one for like the 28th, so it's a little while out because I know you guys have other things going on. We're actually going to be doing a job analysis, and what I'm going to be doing, guys, instead of covering this assignment in any depth today, because we haven't really gotten to the actual job analysis part, we're going to be walking through a very similar assignment in class, and you're going to get an opportunity to understand what I'm looking for. Guys, when you do a job analysis, you're basically trying to look at how is the work currently being performed. Here's the trick. It's tough to not associate the two. If, for example, if you were evaluating an employee, if Dr. Fry wanted to come in and see how well I was doing my job, what in management speak would we call that? Anybody know? Not necessarily micromanagement, although if somebody's breathing down your neck when you're doing your job, we can call it micromanagement. If somebody comes in to evaluate how well you're doing the job as it already is, what would we call that? Anybody ever? Yes? That's exactly correct. So you do a performance evaluation. And a performance evaluation can tell us some things about the job that aren't working well, but it's not necessarily for that intent. It's the main intent of a performance evaluation is how well is the person doing the job as it's already written. When we do a job analysis, although we do have to keep in consideration that different people have different levels of performance, we're actually looking at the job as a whole. Is our evaluation, how should I rephrase that? Is our job specification and job description accurate? Have we provided the right resources? Is the job set up correctly? So that person who's doing the job in Subway, because that's kind of our reference for job analysis, if however that table is set up, they're performing to a standard in which you've asked them to perform, that's a performance management. You're essentially doing a performance evaluation. If you're evaluating what gets in their way of doing their job, that is a job analysis. So draw the distinction between the two. We're going to be going through that process together, so I'm not going to do significant coverage of that assignment at this point. We're going to start off, though, however, with something that just hit the news today involving performance management. It's a little story about how to get fired from Panera Bread. So sit back and wants to get fired. But that being said, should that employee have been fired or not? What are your thoughts for showing what really goes into Panera mac and cheese? Should they have been fired or not? What are your thoughts? What do you think?
From an employee perspective, I don't think it's that big of a deal, but as Panera Bread as a company, I can see why they wouldn't want a video like that to be common knowledge or whatever.
Yeah, how does it position the company in terms of what this employee chose to do? What does it do to the company's reputation?
I guess it diminishes how the public envisions their quality of food or their quality
What's a plate of mac and cheese cost at Panera? Like $5-6 probably. And basically, you see, it's sort of like Stouffer's. It's something you can buy for $2 or $3 in Walmart. Anybody else have an opinion? Should this employee, that's not the actual employee, but should this employee be fired?
Those employees are an extent of your brain, and she heard it there, and also was making TikToks while she was working.
See, that's the other thing. Is this person actually doing their job at work, or are they playing on social media, for example? Any other opinions? Anybody take an opposing view? Should this employee have not been fired? Anybody feel that? Yes.
I feel like if this employee didn't know that if this employee knew that she couldn't do that, then she would know. So I feel like she deserves a second chance. Maybe they talk to her and explain like what she did wrong, and so like maybe it known to everyone so that no one makes the same mistake that she did.
I think Panera's got a couple of options what they can do with something like this. You remember a few years back when Domino's publicized how bad their own pizza was? You guys remember that whole ad campaign? Who here remembers that? The CEO of Domino's actually went on national television with pictures people had sent him of how bad their pizza was. And he basically went on TV and said, look, these are pictures of how bad our pizza sucks. I'm really sorry. We're going to fix it. We're going to make it better. So if you're Panera Bread, for example, you could choose to go that route. You could choose to say, yes, we got outed because we're using frozen product. We're going to go back to making fresh product. If they don't feel that that's necessary, the idea of pulling the employee back, they could even use this as an opportunity to be good guys giving somebody a second shot. I think Panera's ultimate decision probably was the right one in this case, and the fact that they had somebody who did brand damage potentially for them. The only trick is, what about in terms of employee training, employee orientation? Is there a chance, realistically, that this person, in the age of social media, really did not realize what they were doing was wrong? What do you think? What do you think?
I think she probably didn't think like her little TikTok would be done as buzz.
Yeah.
That much hype, and then once it does, like too late.
Once it's out there, man, you can't pull it back. I think that it is important at this point in time to realize that we have employees who maybe, when I say this, I don't mean to sound disparaging, but we have a lot of folks in the workforce who maybe did not benefit from good advice from a guidance counselor, or good advice in college, or good advice at home. So something like social media training and really backing up to somebody that this could be the ultimate price you will pay if something like this happens. You could lose your job. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, or if it just dies in the next couple of days. But I thought it was interesting nonetheless. Guys, we left off talking on Friday a little bit about telecommuting in terms of when it was a good idea and when it was a bad idea, the idea of working from home. Let's move quickly on this because we already started the conversation on Friday. Who here can tell me when it's a good idea to work from home? What are jobs that would lend themselves to working from home? What do you think? Jobs or personality types? What do you think? Help me out. Yes. And programmers too. I don't know how many of you know computer programmers. It tends to be very solitary work to begin with. I think if you see people, for example, who constantly are hunched over computers with their office doors closed, those folks could probably work just fine at home, depending on what kind of work they're doing. What else would work really well in terms of solitary work from home? What else could be a good job for those folks? Any thoughts? Or conversely, what wouldn't be a job you could do from home? Help me out, guys. Yes.
Well, from the camp perspective, teacher.
For sure. I mean, I don't know if any of you guys have seen The Big Bang Theory where Sheldon got the robot that could roam around and bother people. Maybe we'll get those and we can work from home. But I agree with you. I think there's something about being in the classroom, for example. What else would or wouldn't work well from a remote setting? What's something you couldn't imagine somebody doing from home? Yes. For sure. Somebody's got to be actually there cooking the food. Although, the thing I think is really interesting, I talked about this, I'm not sure if we talked about it in this class or not, but have you guys heard about ghost restaurants? About that whole phenomenon now? Ghost restaurants are restaurants that don't even have seating areas. They're takeout and delivery only. And so we're reducing the amount of people who actually are working in a given area. Theoretically, that starts seeming more and more like telecommuting all the time because you're all based in a central location. What are some of the concerns you would have if you were asked to work from home? Let's say you get your first job, you're working for a company. Let's say you're doing a standard office job. It could be management, might be marketing, might be something internet-based. What are concerns you would have about working at home? As an employee, what would concern you? What do you think? Avery, what's something that would be hard about working from home by yourself?
I would say like the communication aspect.
Tell me more.
Say there's like you're having an issue like with whatever you're doing. It'll probably be easier if you can like leave your office and just go back to somebody rather than like having to send an email and like wait to get a response. Maybe if your problem is like something that you need an immediate fix for, you won't be able to get that if you're not actually in the office.
I couldn't agree more. By show of hands, who has ever been roped into a text or email conversation that went on far too long and could have been resolved in one conversation? You ever been in that movie? Yeah, it's the same deal when working from home. People, when they're working from home, it seems like will go to any extreme not to have a phone call. And I know that that's a form of communication that's less popular these days, but it really is a good issue. What would be another challenge? From this side of it, what would be a challenge for working from home? Yeah, if you're relying on your own infrastructure and all of a sudden you don't have internet connectivity, you're not connected to the office. What else could be a challenge, guys? Who here considers themselves, and I'll share in this group, who here considers themselves somewhat easily distracted? Yeah, man, if I'm working from home, if my dog is running around, I'm scratching his belly and playing with him, or doing laundry, or all of a sudden something cool comes on television, because I wouldn't even be watching television in my office. That can be a very difficult thing as well. It's difficult to be able to control how people work when they're working from home. Oftentimes, people end up working even longer when they're at home than they do in the workplace because we feel this need to make it up. Social anxiety, social isolation, all these things are problems, guys. Well, guys, we're still talking about job design and job analysis. A very popular trend these days is something we call scheduling flexibility. Now, shift work is what it sounds like. You either work first shift, second shift, or third shift. Generally speaking, if you work first shift, you work during the day. If you work second shift, you work during the afternoon. If you work third, you work overnight. They can be very difficult on people. It's very difficult on family relationships. If you have somebody who's working third trick, all of a sudden they're never really getting to tuck the kids in at night. If they're working second shift, they might not see the kids much at all during the school year. It's tough. Then we get into something called a compressed work week, and that means basically you're working a full 40 hours, but you're doing it in fewer than 5 working days. Can anybody think of somebody who works a compressed work week and why they do it? There's a particular profession that does this all the time. Yes? Very good. And why do nurses do it so much? Yep, here's what happens, guys. If you've ever had the misfortune of having a family member in intensive care, what they try to eliminate is too many shift changes. Because let's say, for example, we got somebody who is in a rough spot medically. We will have somebody who is working maybe a 12 or 14-hour shift. So there's what we refer to as continuity. That person who's been there for the last 6 hours knows what this person's condition is like and what they're going to have to do if something goes wrong. Here's the downside, though. If we get into high-demand professions like nursing, is there a problem with a 12 or a 14-hour shift? What might be a problem? Any thoughts? Yes? And if you're in the medical profession, it could even be medical errors, for example. I know this much. For example, my long days on the office here, my Wednesdays, I get here at 7 in the morning and I leave here at 9:15 at night. That's a long day. And I will not say that I'm getting my best teaching in at 8:45 at night as I am at 9 in the morning. So there are the aspects of how much you can actually fit in a day. Then we get into part-time schedules. Some people like working part-time. Sometimes the job necessitates it. A new trend, though, and this really started back during about 2008 when more people started getting into the gig economy, which was job sharing. It meant, let's say, for example, Zach and I both want to work 20 hours a week. We can actually get the same job and we split our own hours and decide who's working when. And then we get into what we refer to as flex time. And that means that basically you have some control over your own schedule and when you work and when you don't. This is interesting, guys. Netflix, one of the biggest and most influential companies, who, by the way, whose days may be numbered based on their current business model, came up with a great idea 3 years ago. They said, we're going to have limitless days off. You can take off as many days as you want, so long as your job gets done. What do you think about that policy, guys? Who here thinks, that, by show of hands, that people would abuse the crap out of that policy? Raise your hand. Who here think, by show of hands, would say, nah, you can trust people? Who here says, I don't have a bleeping clue? That's okay not to have a clue. I don't have a clue about lots of things in my life. Guys, here's what actually happened. Netflix had to go back and revise the policy because nobody was taking time off. Why do you think that happened? Yes?
Well, they probably never thought like work was done. There's always something.
For sure. Corey's got half the answer. So another reason why nobody was taking time off. Yes? You guys, between the two of you, you got the whole answer. Part of it was just the idea of people not having context. Well, if you're not giving me any direction, well, then what's the right direction? How many days can I take off? If you're saying it's cool that I take all the time off I want, but you're not really giving me any direction, I think it was a tough policy for people to really appreciate and to understand. For example, if you've got an instructor who has an attendance policy versus one who has kind of an attendance policy, people will show up when you have an attendance policy. They will not show up all the time if you've got an intermittent enforcement. So it comes down to the same deal with work. I thought it was pretty interesting how that played out for Netflix. Now, flexibility is great. One of the reasons that we're doing so much of it these days is because we've got more single parents. We've got people who have got very demanding schedules. Here's the other trick. We talk about the idea that people need a flexible schedule because they have children. Is there another reason why some older working adults need a flexible schedule these days? On the other extreme for children, what might it be? Any thoughts? Yes? You got it. People, my generation, we're Gen Xers, and the generation right ahead of us are called baby boomers. Between the older folks in my generation and the younger folks in the generation preceding mine, we're seeing a whole new phenomenon where people have children that they have to take care of, and their parents are aging into retirement and having medical issues, and having to take care of them too. There's one other group we start seeing too, and that's when we've got returning warriors, people who need their spouse to take care of them. They had significant brain damage, for example. So that's why we have work time flexibility. Some of the other things we try to do right now too is make sure that people take time off. The Germans are much better than the Americans at this. German companies, and I know we've got some internationals in here as well, German companies are much better at ensuring that their people enjoy time off than American companies. Anybody know why? Or how, I should say. What are some of the things that places like Germany and other parts of Europe do to make sure people have a better quality of life? Any ideas? I'll give you a hint. Actually, I'll give you the answer. Germany has two of my favorite car companies in the world, BMW and Porsche. They make amazing automobiles, and they treat their employees well. They also have a rule now that if you're on vacation or if you're after hours, you do not have access to your company email, meaning they want you to disconnect from work when you are not at work. More companies are starting to do this now too, because there's a difference between your generation and millennials and my generation. Millennials and Gen Z understand the quality of having a life outside of work, and companies are starting to realize it too. If they want to recruit people, they're going to have to allow for that. Before we get into our next part of our conversation, which really gets us into the meat of job analysis, I'd like to pause for a question or a comment. Question or comment? Anywhere in the room? About it. no use. It's something you don't even know. It's an open book. You can ask me anything. If I don't know, I'm going to try to lie compellingly to you and see if you'll believe me. I've been trying that with my wife for 7 years. She's not buying it. Seriously, what would you guys like to ask them? Or make a statement? There's got to be something. I know it's midterm. I know everybody's tired. Help me out. Yes. This weekend, man, I left for Cleveland about noon on Saturday. Got back. We're playing a show in Cleveland on Saturday night. Got home on Sunday. Laid around the house. Did absolutely nothing for most of the afternoon. Went to see the new Joker movie last night. What'd you do this week? You have some fun? Watch anything good on TV? Oh, nice. I haven't checked that show out. I've heard nothing but good things. Cool. We need one more question from somewhere in the room so we can continue getting into the next phase, guys. You guys have a little bit of that 9 a.m. freshman look today. Yes.
Out of 10, what would you rate the Joker?
9.5. Have you seen it? And I'm harsh, man. Like, I don't give easy A's on movies. That movie might even be a 9.6. But it is intense, it is disturbing, and it will stick with you. Just know that before you go see it. So, would you guys agree? You agree, Corey? You've seen it. It's a.
I don't think I'm going to go see it, just because I feel like it's too serious.
It is.
I feel like all the like superheroes, supervillain movies, like should be kind of fiction. And that the Joker, like watching the pictures, it just looks like it's like a real. Like you see what I'm trying to say? Like
I do.
Real.
The word we like to use is escapism. You know, like I want to go somewhere else for 2 hours and be transported out of my mundane life and see something that has no stress involved. That's why I love the Avengers, and I love watching the Hulk or whatever. This is definitely not that. It is not a superhero movie. So, well, I got a question because I need to get you guys talking today because everybody's a little tired. We can take 2 minutes out from the content to get you guys engaged. Do you guys have a go-to movie that you can watch anytime? Like something, if you're in a funk or it's a rainy day, you got nothing, you can watch that movie. What's your go-to movie? Rush Hour. Nice. That's like a kind of brainless 90s fun, just moves very quickly. That was a 90s movie. It was. Yeah. How many of those did they make? Yes. You know, it's a heavy movie. It's a great, great movie. If Morgan Freeman's narrating it, it's probably a classic. You know, like, I love what Michael Uslan said, you know, that if you have Morgan Freeman narrating your life, you've done something right. So, what else? What other movies are your go-to? Yes. With Michael Douglas. Wow, unusual choice, man. Has anybody else actually seen that movie? It is the ultimate one man against the system movie. If you guys have never seen this movie, it's a guy, he's a corporate wage slave, wears a white shirt to work every day. He's been working too long. Nobody gives him any respect. And he has that one bad day. And decides all bets are off. That's a surprising movie because I thought I'd be the only person in the room who's ever seen that. But good one. Who else is a go-to? Yes. Very uplifting, inspiring kind of movie. Gets you up. Nice. One more. Somebody tell me somebody else gets it going. Yes. I've never seen that one. So who's in that one? Ah. So what's the content for the movie? Is it?
Soccer movie. Yeah. She like gets her soccer team that's cut at their high school, I think, and then she goes to her. She pretends she's her twin brother and goes to his school and plays on the men's soccer team.
Wow. So is that a Disney movie? I've never heard of that movie. Wow. Wow. Mine's The Breakfast Club, the original 1985 version of The Breakfast Club. That's a movie I could watch anytime. It's like it's my era, but the lessons are universal. So, all right, guys. Well, look at it this way. We got 25 minutes together. We're going to get through this next section on job analysis so you can see why it's important, what it's all about. Now, here's the trick, guys. I know you're tired, and I know it's sunny out there, and we're working our way to mid-semester. Try to jump in, guys. Try to jump in the conversation. We'll make this time go by more quickly. So, guys, when we do a job analysis, what we're trying to find out is what goes into doing a job. What goes into what somebody does every day. If we were standing over somebody's shoulder, how would they actually work? Well, we do this stuff to know if we're hiring the right people. For example, if Randy Fry, if Dr. Fry were doing a job analysis, walked into this room, and and discovered I was teaching you guys calculus because I had no background in HR, number one, I think it would be even hotter and more boring in this room because it would be calculus. But number two, he'd be questioning if he hired the right guy for the job, or if he had written the job specification specific enough. So job analysis helps us know if we're pulling the right people in. It also helps us know if we are doing things that are excluding people. We talk a lot about things like ADA. Are there things that are keeping us from including people of multiple abilities in these positions? And we also want to know that we have ways, for example, to train people if there are things they're not doing well because of factors outside of their own abilities. And also if we are evaluating people on the right subjects. Let me give you an example. Let's say in this classroom today, instead of 20 of you, it was a larger lecture hall, and I had 200 of you. How might that change the way I do my job? What might be different? What might be different for you guys sitting in the seats, too? What might be different about that? What do you think? Jojo, you look like you're thinking about this. Man, if there were 200 people here, what would be different about this whole scenario? It'd be less conversational, wouldn't it? I would probably just be up there. I mean, I ramble enough as it is. I'd probably be up here rambling for an hour solid without taking a stop. Would I know anything about any one of you? No. And you guys probably would not be asking me questions about my wife or my dog because we would not have that kind of personal rapport. My standard for performance would be different as well. I would not be evaluated on how well I'm scoring your papers because I probably wouldn't be reading your papers. A teaching assistant would be doing that. I probably wouldn't be scored on my personal rapport with you because we wouldn't really build a personal rapport. I wouldn't be scored on how much time I'm doing outside of work projects with you all because the nature of the job would be different. And you do a job analysis because the way a professor is evaluated at a large school like Pitt or Penn State is different than the way you evaluate an instructor at a small school, so it's contextual as well. Does that make sense, guys? So when we think about this stuff, I apologize, the print is small, but we're going to go through all of this stuff separately anyway. Here's the way the whole thing works, guys. A job analysis basically says, can we draw a conclusion about the way that this work is currently set up? We can ask people questions. We can find out through interviews. We can observe somebody doing their job to find out if things are getting in the way or enabling them. Other sources of information can be people beside the individual who've watched that person do their job. And then we also have a question of who's conducting this. A job analysis can be conducted by somebody who works for HR or that person's individual manager, or you can even bring an outside consultant. Let me ask you guys, if we wanted to analyze a job in an organization, is there any good reason, is there any advantage to bringing somebody outside the organization in to do the analysis? What might be an advantage of bringing somebody outside? Yes? So we've got a totally unbiased opinion, absolutely. Here's the other thing. Have you ever been around your friends for such a long period of time that things that stick out to other people don't stick out to you? Your friend, somebody new comes into your circle, and all of a sudden they notice something you had completely forgotten about. Like your friend Billy laughs like a horse because you've been hearing that laugh so long, you don't even notice the anymore. Yeah. By the way, is that a horse or is that Scooby-Doo? Did you guys watch Scooby-Doo when you were growing up? Like, it's just like, zoinks, you know, it's like, where's that come from? Anyway, all that information can be done internally or externally. After we get this analysis done, which we're going to walk through one step at a time, we come up with job descriptions and job specifications. There's differences between the two. A job description tells us what a job is all about in the big picture. A job specification says these are the things that you need to actually know or be able to do. And all of these things are used to make sure we can pick and hire the right people, that we can pay them well, that we are setting appropriate standards. Here's an example. Going back to our subway analogy, if we have a large crowd, for example, the other day I went down to get a coffee at 10 a.m., like 5 minutes till 10, and saw that the line was out the door, literally from the coffee stand downstairs, and it was quicker for me to run over to the library and get a Coke out of the vending machine than to wait for a cup of coffee. It took me less time to do all that. I have to wonder, if if our system is set up well so that somebody can see a quick number of clients, a lot of clients at the same time. What would you say, for example, in that scenario? Raise your hand if you've ever stood in a long line downstairs. What's the problem, guys? What is going wrong with that scenario? Yes? And have you ever seen the way that whole work area is set up? Is it easy for two people to work back there? You're tripping over things. There's machines. And how about the sounds some of those machines make? I would not be surprised if somebody's got like high-end hearing loss. If you were doing a job analysis of that, it's not just people down there that are having trouble working. The systems themselves are not set up well. What's the difference if you go to our cafe downstairs or if you go to Sheets and use your credit card to pay? Which is faster? Sheets or downstairs? Sheets. So that, again, is something that would show up in a job analysis. There are things that are keeping people from working as quick as they can. So we have to know how we appropriately compensate somebody. Okay. So in terms of ways we can break this labor up. Guys, in terms of the HR unit itself, the HR department within your company is the part of your company that's going to be responsible for telling people how to do this, how to do a job analysis, how to look critically at the way somebody does work, and also to maintain accurate job descriptions and job specifications. Managers typically are better people to do the actual analysis because they understand the process. If I wanted to go downstairs, let's say, for example, you had a choice between either asking me, I'm a professor in HR, or somebody, for example, who works for Parkhurst Foods, to go downstairs and assess the way that work area is laid out. Who's going to be your better choice and why? Who would be a better person to go down and take a look at that? Any thoughts? Yes? I would think so too if it's their specialty. The only caveat I would make to that, if it's somebody who has looked at it every day and not seen the problem, then maybe you need a fresh set of eyes. Sometimes people outside of your department can make very good suggestions. But generally speaking, somebody who's a manager in that department is going to be a better person to do this stuff. And that person, when they do a job analysis, is going to take all this information and revise the way we do the work, revise the job description, revise the job specification, and make sure that we're paying people for the right reasons. So, for example, if you work at Subway, you don't get paid by the number of subs you make. You get paid by the hour. Sometimes I wonder if that's not a mistake. And we're going to get into that idea of piece rate in a minute. Guys, in terms of the way this stuff all adds up, what somebody does as one little part of their job, distinct identifiable work, that's a task. So, for example, if I'm downstairs making a cup of coffee or making a cappuccino is a task. A duty is when you put all those things together. Your job duty is, for example, to make hot and cold drinks as part of a coffee station downstairs. That's all combined into a duty. And also, then we have responsibilities. Overall, what are you responsible for? I'm responsible for the clean and safe operation of the coffee stand here in the building. So they all fit together. So what do you need to do something? We refer to those as competencies. However, we are going to stop for another second to keep us moving here because it is a warm, sunny afternoon. So guys, really quick. Actually, here's another question for you guys just to keep you awake here today. Okay, here it is. Guys, if you could get anything when you were trick-or-treating, what were the treats you look forward to getting in your bag the most? Yes? Oh, like regular Reese's Cups? Yeah, they're pretty awesome. What did you look forward to? Kit Kats, nice. Who else? Yes. The people gave you Snickers too, man. That bag got heavy quick when you got those. What else? Twix. Awesome. What did you guys hate getting in your treat bags? For show of hands, who likes candy corn? There's only a few people who like candy corn. It's a thing. So I hated getting candy corn too. What else did you guys hate? Which one? Yeah, those things you can chew on for about 4 hours before you get it actually into your throat. What did you hate, Sarah? What? A toothbrush. Wow. Wow, that's awful. Anybody else get anything that awful?
They're like popcorn balls.
Oh, yeah.
That's as,
like, used to be like, yeah.
that's as old timey as it gets.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to tell you guys. I'm going to tell you a Halloween story, then we're going to get back in for the next part of today's lecture because we're breaking this up. I'm going to tell you about what it's like when you're a bachelor at Halloween time and you don't know trick or treat's coming. My brother and I used to own a house together. I have a twin brother. Us two living together was a mistake. We were not very organized people. And because in this part of the country, they've got this strange idea that Halloween should never be on Halloween. It should always be on some stupid sunny afternoon. So it's Sunday afternoon, and all of a sudden these trick-or-treaters are showing up to my house. My first reaction is, it's sunny out, it's not scary, and it's not Halloween. Why are all these trick-or-treaters showing up? Well, that's when the township does it, so it's safe for the kids. What fun is that? Scaring children is part of the joy of Halloween. Anyway, so these kids start showing up at my doorstep. I'm a bachelor, and I live with my brother, and I go to see what do we have that we hand these kids. Giving out beer is a bad idea. Nobody's going to like that at all. Mom and Dad are not going to find the humor in that. Well, I've got boxes of cereal here. Oh, wait, we've got ramen noodles. And I started handing out dry boxes of ramen noodles for Halloween. We ran out of ramen noodles, we went to try boxes of jello pudding. So that's what we handed out for Halloween. No trick-or-treaters showed up next year. Everything worked out perfectly. So the lesson to be learned here is if you want people to quit bothering you in Halloween, hand out something they really weren't expecting to get. So that could show up as a fun question. Ramen noodles. Gotta love it. They're all really the same flavor, too. They're all actually salt flavor. So, but, all right, let's jump back in. I'm doing what I can here on this side, guys. In terms of competencies, we talked about tasks. We're talking about competencies now. We've got things that make us good or bad at a job. A technical competency would be an example of something that you have to know how to do to be successful in your job. A behavioral competency is a way that you act that makes you successful on your job. Using the instructor analogy again, what makes for a good technical competency for an instructor of accounting at St. Francis University? If you're teaching accounting at St. Francis, what would be an appropriate technical competency? What would be something technically you should know how to do? Yes? Yeah, I would think that knowing how to use Excel or some sort of spreadsheet program, having some sort of certification, for example, if you're a CPA or a degree in accounting, those things are technical competencies. Regardless of what your discipline is, what would be a good behavioral competency to have for somebody in a teaching position? So the way that somebody acts, what would be something good to have in that position? Yes? Personable, open, somebody who's maybe an extrovert. It works out really well. So you have technical and behavioral competencies. So what we're basically saying, when we write that job description, these competencies turn into the job description. Well, a technical competency for an instructor of accounting, somebody must have CPA, demonstrated expertise in Excel, experience in the field. A behavioral competency. Is this that duck game? No. Goose game?
No, it's
Wow, that looks like a lot of fun. I should give that a try when I'm teaching sometime. But we've got behavioral competencies. Is somebody actually showing up for work? Is somebody actually not playing video games while they're teaching? Is somebody not feeling their heart break as they see their students playing video games during really important lectures? Yeah, I feel like right now it's like, I kind of wish this was a tap system. It's like, wow, that's what it's come down to. They're playing video games. I'll pour myself a shot of this stuff, but it'll probably just make me go blind. It won't kill me. It'll just make me go blind, and then I'll be sad and blind and sit in front of the classroom. You die a little bit at a time. And then you say to yourself, no, I'm not giving up that easy. These kids need to know this stuff. And you dust yourself off, and you stand back up and you say it's important to have good technical and behavioral competencies. So I don't advocate drinking out of those things either, by the way. So guys, here are the steps in the job analysis. Guys, the first thing you're going to do is make a plan. Why are we doing this in the first place? What could be a reason you would do a job analysis? What's a reason you would choose to do this? Yes. Yeah, we've been getting complaints. The coffee lines are way too long downstairs. There's something going wrong down there. We need to do this. Well, to prepare for it, we're going to decide what are we going to do? How are we going to analyze this job? We might look at the jobs that we're going to assess and how we're going to assess them. Are we going to maybe do surveys? Are we going to do interviews? Are we going to ask people who are doing the job how they're doing it? We're also going to look at what existing documentation we have. Do we have a job description already? Do we have job specifications? And the difference between the two. The description tells us what is expected of us. The specifications tell us what skills are required. Now, guys, why would we in advance want to tell everybody we are up to this? We are doing this job analysis. Why would you let people know that in advance? What do you want to alleviate? Yeah, fear, man. People fear what they don't understand. And if you have people who are all of a sudden staring over your shoulder, how you doing your job, what's the first thought most people would have? I'm doing something wrong or I'm getting fired. Then you actually do the job analysis, which means that you actually go in and do your observation, you do your interviews, you compile your data. We'll go through all that together when we actually walk through this. Finally, then you're going to develop and revise your job description and specifications. It means if we discover there's a skill that's lacking downstairs, it should be in our job description, we will put it in. Maybe we'll train the people who are already working. And finally, at the end of this all, it becomes a circular process because we revise, and we do it every year. If your organization is not doing this at least once every couple of years, you're probably making a mistake. Some of the ways we can observe people. We can watch somebody do their work, for example. We can ask them to do their own work diary. Now, guys, what would be an advantage or a disadvantage of asking somebody to write down everything they do on a daily basis? Yes?
They can embellish a little bit, like things that they're really supposed to be doing that they really don't usually do. They just put that in there.
We call it job inflation. You're absolutely right. Is there any other advantage or disadvantage in doing that? What do you think? Some people view it as being spied on too, for example. Now, what about, for example, observation? If we come in and watch somebody doing their job, are we always getting the whole story? Who thinks yes? And if you think no, tell me why. Yes, Richard. Exactly right. Exactly right. They're going to put their best foot forward if they know they're being observed. Has anybody here ever knowingly served? Some of you work in food service. Some of you work in retail. Have any of you ever heard of a secret shopper? Have you ever encountered one? Check this out, guys. Years ago, I dated a girl who was a secret shopper, and we would get assignments all the time. You get your meal paid for at any restaurant that they were doing a survey. They would have us go in, and you had to time everything. Did somebody offer you an appetizer? Did somebody ask you if you wanted drinks? Did somebody refill your drink? You time all this stuff, give them feedback, and at the end of it, you put in your receipts and you got reimbursed for really good meals. Some of those meals were $60 and $70 meals we were getting for free, all because they wanted somebody to come in and observe. Now, some of that was performance as well. Some of that was performance management, but they also wanted to see if their systems work. Well, you can interview people as well, using the coffee shop analogy downstairs. In addition to talking to the people who work at the coffee shop, in terms of how well the systems work and how well the work is designed, who else could we talk to? Yeah, I would talk to the students, the people who are waiting in line all day. Absolutely. Who else might you talk to? We got the students. Who else might you talk to? Who else uses the coffee shop? Yeah, anybody who works here, for sure. You could also send out questionnaires, and you could also use something called ONET. We're going to actually do a demonstration of ONET in the next class. ONET is an absolutely awesome resource, and it's part of the United States government essentially creates a database of jobs. If you have any idea, by the way, you guys may be interested in this regardless if you're interested in working in HR. If you want to know what the salary range is for a particular job, go to ONET and check it out. In fact, do a Google search for that. If you got a laptop and look up ONET, you can find out what people should be making at all these jobs and what responsibilities should be included in just about any job you can possibly imagine. And it's a great source of information for us. So the things that we gather in a job analysis, actually we'll start here on Wednesday. So I'm going to ask anybody who is helping me with the event tomorrow we'll meet out here in the lobby. Everybody else, have a great day, guys. I hope the rest of your week is good.